Hello, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In the last video, we did a Apollo-style Mun landing, and in this video, we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing, but on Duna. So again, we're going to have a lander that will land on the planet, do all the science, and then come back to rendezvous in orbit with the service module before heading back home to Kerbin. So one thing you don't see me do, which you absolutely will need to do, is right here, those baguette tanks, you need to put a fuel line from them into the main tank that engine is right under. If you don't do that, those fuel tanks are just dead weight. And the lander will not work. As we see later, I ended up having just enough fuel for what I needed to do. Another thing, it's completely possible to make this lander and this service module pretty early in the tech tree. But I do use the 3.75 meter parts, pretty much just because I think they look cooler than using 2.5 meter parts. But you can use those, you'll just need more boosters, but it should be possible. Another thing I didn't add is struts, and you'll definitely need to add struts inside that fairing so that the thing doesn't fall apart. You'll notice that I changed my Kerbals from Jebediah and Jebediah and Bill to Jebediah and Bob. You want to bring a scientist and a pilot, just so you can reset your experiments, and also have a pilot so you can do the maneuvering. So it was actually a good thing I didn't bring Bob, because I had to make those changes, as we'll see later. As for the ascent, pretty much the same as usual. I did kind of mess it up. I went a bit too fast in the beginning and I didn't turn fast enough. And I make kind of the same mistake on Duna later, but we'll see why. It's because the lander is not very aerodynamic. There's definitely changes you can make. I find adding wings to a lander is kind of hit or miss, because if you add wings to a lander that make it more stable on the way up, that's going to make it less stable on the way down. And it really would not have been a problem this time, so you definitely can add wings to this thing. But, I mean, we'll see it when we get to it. So you want to circularize your orbit before you make your transfer. As we said last time, when you want to go higher in the sphere of influence, you need to add velocity. When you want to go lower, you need to subtract velocity. We can see Kerbin is going up and to the right, so we need to add to that. Another thing just to know is that when you're leaving Kerbin to go higher in the solar system, you're going to be making your maneuver on the shadowy side of the planet, and when you want to go lower, you're going to do it on the sunny side of the planet. Once we've got our maneuver done, obviously we're going to burn at the time, but as we can see by like the little green bar, it's going to take more than just this stage's fuel. So we'll have to separate, do the transposition and docking, and then continue. The thing about Duna encounters is Duna does not have crazy high gravity, so it can be kind of tough to get it. If you're not getting it at all, make sure you're at a Duna Transfer window, especially if you've never done it before. You can kind of see the position I'm at right now. If you have Kerbin at the right of your screen with the sun in the middle of your screen, Duna should be straight above Kerbin, so it should be like a 90-degree angle at Kerbin. So as we can see, my encounter is not crazy close to the planet. That's completely fine. I always do it this way. I just do a course correction about halfway through. The position of the course correction is not super important. As we can see, it's only 5 meters per second. So, I mean, you can really do it anywhere and only be changing by 1 or 2 meters per second. But there are ways to make it super efficient if you really need that. So once you arrive in the sphere of influence, you want to capture at periaps. The closer you are to the planet, the more of its gravity you're feeling when you burn to slow down, the more efficient your burn will be. That's kind of another thing I was talking about last time when we talked about the kind of curviness of the encounter with the Mun. We saw the curviness of this encounter was pretty good, you know? So, looked good. Anyway, you'll want to transfer your guy over and then detach. And this is when I realized I did not put any parachutes on the lander. So that's a problem. I was debating just going for the landing anyway and just landing with the engines, but as we'll see, that would have been a death sentence. Well, maybe not, but it would not have let the lander come back. So, what are we going to do? Well, I redocked with the service module, and then I had the engineer get out. So this is why it was good that I had to add those struts and fuel lines, because I could have the engineer get out and then transfer the parachutes over from the service module to the lander. Engineers being able to add and remove parts was added in the most recent update. It's not on consoles. I don't know if it'll be added. I'm not crazy into consoles. But if you've never done it before, you just get your engineer to come out and then press I. I think it's dependent on the engineer's experience, what he can do. I think he should always be able to just add and remove parachutes. I mean, they're pretty easy, right? Not sure though. But you'll definitely need the upgrade at the, I think it's the R&D Center, or it might be the Mission Control Center, that allows Kerbals to leave their capsules. But you'll definitely get that pretty early anyway. So, landing on Duna, not that hard. We definitely needed those parachutes because we were coming in pretty fast. Our orbit is like 800 meters per second. We definitely wouldn't have been able to get rid of all that speed and then add it back with the Delta V we had. So yeah, great thing about Duna, the gravity is low enough that Kerbals can have fun jumping around, but it's high enough that they can still run around and not be super annoying. Don't forget to plant the flag, pretty much the only reason to really go anywhere in this game. And make sure you get all your science and get ready to launch into orbit. So, wait till your target is above you. This time, we are orbiting in a prograde orbit, so we're getting a little bit of Delta V gain from the rotation of the planet. And watch the fuel on those outer tanks. When it's gone, ditch them. And we can see our ascent is not great. We really should be pointing more to the right, but if you can see how shaky the lander is, I'm really fighting the air because of just how much drag there is. Also, I way overcorrected the height of the orbit. You can see how high that is. I thought the air was going to slow me down a lot more. And there's another thing, oh wow, look at that. The nav ball switched into target mode, so when I was burning prograde, it wasn't burning, actually prograde. So, another thing, you can see my inclination does not match the target, and I could have fixed that ahead of time. I could either, when you're doing the course correction, just get a better approach, or once you've already circularized, burn somewhere to do that. Inclination changes are cheapest at Apoapps. So, now I'm working on the encounter, but my periapps is getting kind of low. Like I said earlier, Duna's atmosphere starts at 50,000 meters, so I was being overly cautious. Honestly, I just wasn't really paying that much attention when I was coming up. But yeah, I got the encounter pretty easily. If you're having troubles with encountering, really the only thing I can say, again, is practice, because it took me a long time before I was able to do it easily. There's not one piece of advice that can really fix it for you, but like I said earlier, inclination change is cheapest at Apoapps, so if fuel's a concern, keep that in mind. If all else fails, just get the orbits as close as you can, and then just time warp until they get close, because they'll always be a little bit off. So even if they're on the opposite side of the planet, they should come together eventually. So once you're in visual range, just kill off your velocity. I switched to the service module to do this because I ran out of fuel. So yeah, we definitely would have not been able to do this if we didn't have those parachutes move over. And if you also forget your parachutes, well, first of all, don't. But second of all, remember to put them back on the command pod. I forgot to do that. as we'll see in just a second. So we dock, and then we're gonna transfer the guy over. Or, oh yeah, if... I thought I collected some kind of science experiment, but I guess in the sandbox it just kind of deletes itself. But yeah, undock, and I really should have noticed, the parachutes are still on that thing, and it's just space junk now. So, again, if you want to come back, you need to do it on the sunny side of the planet. You see we're subtracting from the velocity. But I wasn't at a good time to do it, so I used the tool that just came out with a new update. Oh, you know what? Maybe engineering is on consoles, and this is the thing that's not on consoles. Or maybe they both came out in the same update. I don't know. But yeah, you can't do that on consoles. Just use the tool on the right to get an encounter just automatically done for you. And then do it. It's that easy. So, oh, another thing to keep in mind is to have your guy get out to move the science, like I just said. Yeah, and then we're doing the mid-course correction thing again. Look at how bendy that thing is again. Again, I keep saying that. We're getting really close. And I'd already realized at this point I didn't have the parachutes, so instead of going for like an aero brake capture to land, I'm just going to try and get into a low Kerbin orbit. And yeah, look at that. It's like more than a 90-degree angle. That's really, really good for slowing down, because then we can burn. It'll be very efficient. So yeah, get it as close as possible. If you're coming in and you want to land, first of all, after you do the burn, do not ditch your service module stage until you're in the atmosphere, because you can drastically change your, like, where you're headed. But if you do want to just land and not do this, you know, low Kerbin orbit thing, I'd say like 30,000 meters. Probably not crazy safe. Probably like 35,000 meters is good. Just make a quick save before you do it. But yeah, I can't do that because we can't land. So in the next video, we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be adding parachutes to this thing with an engineer again. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.